Hi everyone, welcome back to Chess with Mr. Ray, guys. And today I wanted to try the recently new feature on chess.com, which was called the survival mode of a puzzle rush, which is located in the puzzle section right here. So I guess we have a tactical trainer right here, right? And we have a puzzle rush, which my all-time highest score is 48, but that's for timed for 5 minutes. And then there's a new recently feature added chess.com called survival that some of you have been talking to me about. So no time limit, but the puzzles do get harder, and if you make 3 mistakes, you're out. So let's try it out and see how it goes, and let's see what it's about. So we'll start, and here's the first position. So what I would recommend in the beginning when the puzzles are easy is just to see that most of the time computer's last move is a blunder. So from there you can see very often that you have a winning move. So just in the beginning, maybe first 10-15 puzzles, they're very similar to a puzzle rush. You can see that the computer's last move is a blunder. So you look for different weaknesses such as bad king location, and you always look at the computer's last move to see that it's a blunder, and that often will help you to find the correct move. A little bit of candidate moves, could have captured the knight, but winning the queen, I guess, is easier. So puzzles are still relatively very easy. The level of puzzles are here, so it does get harder, but this is still quite easy, right? So we have a pass pawn here, we can just promote it. Remember, in the end game, it's always about pawn promotion. So once again, a little bit of candidate moves. So here capturing the bishop is a little bit stronger than capturing the rook that I could have done because of the back rank checkmate. But once again, most of these puzzles in the beginning, you just have to see that the computer's last move is a blunder and try to take advantage of it. How do I use it in my real games? Well, if my opponent blunders early in the game, then I will definitely, instead of getting scared of him, I always say focus opponent last move has 2 components. One is to see if your opponent is attacking you, and 2, to see if he blundered. Now the puzzles are around 1000 strength. What am I at? 17. This is just a warm-up, but the puzzles do get slightly harder. That only means you have to do a little bit more candidate moves. So let's see. The weakness is the back rank again, but let's see how we can take advantage of it. If I do a check, he will block with the bishop. So this is called calculation, and I just did recently a video on positional vision calculation. What else we can do here? Maybe we can try to trick his queen into a back rank checkmate. Let's do a little bit of candidate moves. He's threatening to take our queen. So what we can do is we can give him this check, and then we can oh, he blocked with the rook. Okay, that was bad. Interesting. Okay, so when the puzzles get a little bit harder, all you have to do is just calculate. So still, computer's last move is most of the time is a blunder, just like this. So this is literally a free piece there. Okay, he checks me, but I can easily block and save the piece, right? So, and you also identify the weaknesses, do a little bit of calculation, and then you should be, guys, fine. There's no time limit on this. Let's see what we can do here. My rook is pinned, so let's take, and then we can trick him into a fork, I think. Just like this. So a little bit of calculation. When the puzzles get harder, you have to do more candidate moves, but that's about it. And calculate a little bit more. So look at the opponent's last move to see what he's trying to do and trying to potentially take advantage of it. Just like here, for example, isn't he just giving me the bishop for free? But before I take it, I quickly calculate what happens if he gives me that check with the queen, but I'll just simply escape. So that should be the correct solution. Please don't forget that in the endgame, most of the time it's about pawn promotion. Okay, guys? So what am I at? 27 so far, with the puzzles getting slightly harder, but still not too bad. And here we go. Doesn't that just win material? Okay. Some forks. Okay, in the endgame, once again, it has to be about pawn promotion. So how can we get a queen here? How can we promote a queen here? If I check him and he takes with the rook, I then will not get anything good. What else can we do? Maybe we can check him this way. And then this is the pawn that can be promoted because the knight is controlling the pawn promotion square. Very important principle that we often talk in the endgame lessons. Here we go. So once again, focus upon your last move to see if it's a blunder that you can take advantage of, to look for weaknesses. His king is not very safe. What is this, 1600? Okay, so this is where you have to do, once again, a little bit more candidate moves and a little bit more calculation. The skills that you are actually should be able to use in a real game. And this is pretty much the reason you should do these puzzles. So let's do some candidate moves. If we play here with an idea to checkmate him, you should ask yourself, what can he do? So most likely he will block with the bishop, right, guys? So that's where you don't stop your calculation, and we can see that when he blocks with his bishop, we can probably take the pawn on f7 with the bishop. Let's just make sure that this is the best move and there's no other solutions, and that should be okay. So let's try it out. Yeah, that looks like okay. Once again, a little bit more candidate moves. Taking the bishop with the rook with the bishop. Maybe we can just take with the bishop to win material. Okay, guys? So this is 1669. Still not too bad. Here is computer's last move, and I think that falls directly as a blunder for a checkmate. Here we go. Here is another puzzle. What does he want me to do? Let's look for a checkmate, guys. So if I go here, he just goes back, right? So that wouldn't be a checkmate. Let's try the capture, and now it works. Good. So a little bit of candidate moves and a little bit of calculation. But focusing on the opponent's last move is also very, very important. Now here are my candidate moves in this one. If I capture this one, I ask myself to calculate what he is going to do. He'll just capture back, and that probably won't give me much. But if I capture here first, that looks more interesting. Now, once again, the harder the puzzle, the more candidate moves you should do. I can take the pawn with the queen and calculate what happens after. He takes my queen, I take his rook with the check, he moves the king away, I'll take his queen. But that doesn't look very convincing because I should be able to have a checkmate here. Is there a checkmate here? Is a good question. So if we take his rook and he captures back, we can then take his pawn with the check. He moves his king to a1. So what I like about the survival mode is there's no time limit, right? So here, if you're not sure, you can just take time and you can calculate up to when you're sure that you have the solution. So once again, two candidate moves in this position: rook capture or queen capture, because that's where the weaknesses in our opponent position is. Those are the targets, right? But now calculation will really show us which one is the correct. So let's start calculating what a pawn can do against our move. If I capture his rook, he captures back. I capture the pawn with the check, he goes king a1. At that point, if I capture the pawn on a3, he then can correctly try to block with his knight, and it seems like I'm running out of ideas at that point. I hope you guys got that. So he blocks the check on a3 with the knight, and I don't really have the checkmate. So let's try maybe this one. But this one looks like if I did that, he'll capture my queen, I'll capture his rook for free with the check, and I'll get his queen back. We just have to check the final position, how it looks like, and it probably looks good because he's also going to lose the knight in that position. He should lose the knight, and his pass pawn is not dangerous. So therefore, this must be the solution. I hope you guys following my thinking process where I do the candidate moves and calculation. Some of the puzzles are really, really easy, just like this. Just by looking at the opponent last move, we can see that he blundered. A little bit of candidate moves. Capturing the pawn with the checkmate is obviously better than capturing the rook. Okay, here we go. Some candidate moves: bishop capture pawn, rook capture pawn. So again, vision is identifying opponent weaknesses quickly. Please remember that. So the two weaknesses are the weaknesses on g6. We're just trying to see which way is better. If I capture with the bishop, he doesn't necessarily have to take, and that is the problem. So again, calculation is important. But if I capture with the rook, I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure that there's nothing he can do against the move. So he'll capture, we'll capture with the queen. He'll move the king away, and we can't have a checkmate with the battery there, but we can take the pawn on h6 with the check, and that looks like a very dangerous attack. Now we can continue with this check, and that was apparently the solution. If we blocked with the rook, I think I would have just continued with the maximization. Okay, guys? Let's see what this puzzle is about. This puzzle is forced mate in 3, once again, identifying the weaknesses, right? So, no time limit. And yes, puzzles get harder. What am I at? At a roughly, now he's going to start to give me puzzles with the 2000 rating. But the puzzles get harder. That only means you have to do more candidate moves. Some of the puzzles are defensive, just like this one. So here, we are up a piece, but he's trying to checkmate us, and you really have to calculate what you're going to do. So please remember, when you're under pressure, candidate moves again are very, very important. So let's do some candidate moves. Maybe we can move the queen to g6, but then we can see that he might be able to trap our queen with the move. Maybe he'll just capture the pawn, and then it's a discover attack on my queen, and I lose my rook. So that didn't look good. What else can I do? If I counterattack his queen, once again, he can capture my pawn with his queen on c6 over here, and then my queen is under attack, plus my rook is going to be under attack. So by doing candidate moves, you often eliminate moves that don't work using the calculation, and you find the correct move. Now, it's not a double attack, so only you have to defend against one threat. I am in danger, so I'll do a little bit of candidate moves, and let's see what should be the correct move. Do I just move the rook out of the danger? Looks pretty simple. Yeah. So here we go. That was a defensive puzzle. Now, once again, understanding targets and weaknesses. See how c2 is a weakness based on opponent's last move, and it is a weakness. So now we just have to see how we can target it. Often, seeing how to target a weakness means to ask yourself, who is the defender of that weakness? Well, the current defender of that weakness is the queen. Now we're going to do some candidate moves to see how we can remove that queen. Well, one of the moves that looks interesting is bishop b3. Do I play right away? No, I check if there's anything that I should be worried that my opponent can do against that move, if the computer has a way to defend it. But when I check and there's nothing there, that should be the solution. So here we couldn't checkmate, but as a result of that, we were able to win material. So once again, here is the weakness on the G file. What am I at? 40 with the puzzles rated 2000. Okay, so a little bit more time. There's no time limit, and this is why maybe this is a little bit better than Puzzle Rush, because it does start easy, but then puzzles get harder, which means you need to do more candidate moves and more calculation, right? So let's see some of our candidate moves. We are down a queen here. Well, that's interesting. How did I end up down a queen here? Okay. So let's see this check. He moves away. Let's do another check. Let's do another check with a discover attack. And finally, we have a smothered mate. Now, in the endgame, please don't forget, we always talk about pawn promotion. Here I have a passed pawn. We just have to think how we can promote that pawn. Now, if I go here directly, here I ask myself what my opponent can do against that move. Exactly the same question that you should be asking yourself to solve the puzzle and during the game. So that doesn't work because he can protect his king with the queen. Therefore, we first give him this check, I believe, and then we go there forcing the pawn promotion. So once again, the purpose of solving all these puzzles is so that you can apply it in a real game. This is why Puzzle Rush is not the best, because when you're under time pressure, in the Puzzle Rush, you won't be able to do candidate moves and calculate well. But here, you don't have the time limit, and puzzles do get harder, which trains you to, to deal with the challenge. Here is the next one. So while I was talking, I already came up with some candidate moves. Here, the weakness is an uncastled king, right? So by analyzing the board, you should always target the weakness and understand what computer wants from you. Does he want you to do a checkmate, or does he want you to win material? So here, it looks like an uncastled king is a big weakness for black. So one of the candidate moves we can do is to go here with the very powerful threat of queen down the back rank check. But before I play that move, I have to make sure what, guys? To ask myself what he can do to defend against that. So if he pushed the pawn for a fire escape, then I'll win the rook with the skewer. If he moves his queen all the way back to c8, then I guess we can just take the pawn on e5, and that should be a winning position. And there's not much else he can do because he left his back rank with an uncastled king, and that should be the solution. Just to make sure that I don't capture the pawn like this without asking myself what he can do. That will not be a solution because he just escapes with his king, right? So once again, candidate moves are very important. So as I predicted before, he opened up with the fire escape, and now an interesting moment. This move looks interesting, but he just castles. So before you play a move, you ask yourself what a pawn can do against it. This is why we are gonna go. This move was the idea to checkmate, but it doesn't work, so we are going to simply go for winning material. Here we go. So what are we at? 43, and the puzzles do get slightly harder. In general, you solve anything over 2000, that is pretty good. I had one of the students very recently whose record is 49 on this survival mode. His name is Eric, and he was very impressively solving using the same thing, candidate moves and calculation and correct assessment of the board, where you ask yourself what computer really wants from you. Just by looking at the computer's last move here is not enough to solve, because it at this point gets more complicated than just saying, well, this is a blunder, so I should take advantage of it. So his current record is 49, and on behalf of Eric, I challenge anybody to beat that score on the survival mode. There's no time limit, but puzzles do get harder, and his ability was to solve 2500 puzzle. When he got to 48, the next puzzle that he solved was a 2500 level puzzle, and I think that's a very, very good encouragement. If you are able to solve difficult puzzles like that, then for sure you'll be able to figure out what is the best move during your own game. But most importantly, it's the skills that you learn by solving these puzzles, candidate moves and calculation. So going back to the puzzle, while I was talking about, I was trying to see if we can checkmate the king, and I was trying to do some candidate moves, and there are some candidate moves for that, but it doesn't seem to work. For example, if I capture the bishop, he just captures back, and it's going to be a discover attack on my king. Jeez, that would be a bad blunder. So we have 3 tries, and we should slow down when the puzzles get harder. Or maybe I can just simply capture this rook to win material, but I will not do it until I ask myself what the computer will do against it. So you'll capture my bishop with the check, and then my king is kind of open. It's okay to trade it's gonna be okay to trade queens in that position, but I have to make sure that he doesn't give me a perpetual. So that's where I have to calculate. So he captures my bishop with the check. I'll have to move the king, and then hopefully his pass pawn is not gonna promote because I'll control it with the rook. And if he gives me too many checks, I'll try to block it with the queen. Now these are general ideas which have to be taken time to calculate. And also we are still checking if we can do something else, for example, not capturing the rook. But the problem is that any move that you do, when you ask yourself what in this position computer will do, is he is ready to discover attack our king. So that means capturing the rook has to be correct. Okay, and now once again we have to do the candidate moves. So we can move our king here, and he'll only have 1 check after that with his queen, which we can block with our queen. If he takes our queen, we take his queen, we trade queens, he pushes the pass pawn, and our rook is able to stop it from the back rank. So that's an important part of the calculation in this puzzle. If I move here, he'll still give me a check on e4, right? So as you can see, my thinking process, don't play a move unless you ask yourself what computer can do. So let's try to solve this puzzle, and we are going to move here, and that was correct. Okay, so now on to the next. 44. Puzzles do get harder. Now what does this puzzle want from us? Let's take time. Okay, so looks like we have a lot of pieces here, and white's king is not very safe. Even without queens, white king is not very safe. If we just cut him off like this, which should be the candidate moves, again, I'm not going to play it until what? I make sure what opponent can do, what computer can do against that move. Maybe you'll give me a check with the bishop, and then I'll move my king away. He can't give me a check on the back rank because I'll capture his rook. So once I check all the possible moves to stop me from checkmating him, I check his moves and I calculate that nothing works for him. He either gets checkmated or I win material. That's when I will make that move. And before I make that move, two components. I make sure that there's no other better moves. Like for example, if I check him right now, he just moves away. So I know that that's not a better move. And I also check that this is something that he can defend. So in a real game, how I would apply that, guys? Before you play a move, ask yourself to calculate what a opponent can do against that, and doing candidate moves to make sure that the move that you are playing is the best move. So now this is something that we had to anticipate before playing the rook move, and when he played that, I already saw that we can give him this check that should win material. Okay, he couldn't capture my knight because I would have checkmated him, so now I just won the rook. Okay, so what are we at? 45, and the puzzles do get a little bit harder. So what I would suggest is to pause the video, try to solve it yourself, and then compare not only your solution but the thinking process with me as well. Okay, guys? Now let's see what's going on here. So we have an alignment to the king. His king is not safe. So once again, please don't forget that I always tell you to split any puzzle on a tactical trainer or Puzzle Rush into two sections. What does the computer want from you? And you should try to figure out if he wants to checkmate, if he wants you to checkmate him, or if he wants you to win material from the puzzle. So then I think this position is going to be a checkmate because there's way too much power on this lonely king with no protection. So we'll do some candidate moves, but I already calculated that this should be the correct answer. Now, besides capturing the rook, which seems very obvious, there is a little bit of stronger move here, going queen to the king, and I always remind you guys to do that. So that was the correct solution for that one, and now we are in the end game. Probably cannot checkmate here, but we're gonna try to win material. Let's do some candidate moves once again. If I was to double up my rooks against the bishop, he would give me a check, and when I move the king, he would capture. I capture back, probably not enough to win. What else we could do? So let's take time. Once again, I recommend you to pause the video and try to see if you can solve it yourself. We are 3 puzzles away from beating my student's current record at 49, and the puzzles do get harder, but again, we are solving it to practice our skills of candidate moves and calculation and assessment of the board. So once again, we are trying to win his bishop, but the move that seems to be correct doesn't work because he checks us, and then he ends up with the 3 pawns on this side of the board. So the only idea I can come up with right now is moving the rook back with the preparation of our idea, which is going to hopefully win the bishop. If I'm wrong, please don't criticize me too much, guys. But this seemed to be the correct answer. Okay, so got lucky there. Here is the next puzzle. Holy moly, the puzzles are getting a little bit harder. So more calculation, more candidate moves, and asking what computer wants from us. So let's look at this one. His king is not very safe. How can we really exploit it? The check that looks interesting doesn't work because we just ask ourselves what opponent can do. He'll capture us with the bishop. If we capture this knight, he can capture with the bishop or rook. Doesn't work. One more criteria that can help you to solve the puzzle that I did not so far talk about, because this is only used in the hard puzzles. You have to identify who are your main pieces in this position. So your main pieces in this position are the ones that are doing the most work. So the rook is obviously the main piece, the knight, this knight and the queen. I'm not quite sure that the bishop or this rook can help you. So once you have identified all the main pieces, you then have to talk to each piece separately, asking what that piece can do. So you talk to the rook and say, hey rook, can you do something? You ask if the knight can do something. You do candidate moves for each of the pieces that you identify that are important in this position. Now, you ask yourself what the queen can do, and we can see that we can capture this pawn, which is a calculated move, because if he captures, we can then back rank checkmate him with the rook. So that looks like an interesting move, but before I do finalize that move, I just quickly check what computer can do against that move. You can block with the bishop, then we'll checkmate him here. If he takes our queen, we'll checkmate him with the back rank, so you'll only have to block with the queen, and at that point, we have to know what we are doing if he does that, because otherwise that will not be the correct solution. So I invite everybody to help Mr. Ray to figure this one out. If I do this calculated queen sacrifice, what am I going to do when he blocks the check with his queen? Do I take the queen? If yes, what am I doing after that when he takes with the pawn? If I'm not taking with the queen, then what should I be doing in that position at the end? So once again, please pause the video and let me know what you guys think I should do when I sacrifice this queen and he blocks the check with the queen. And I hope you guys got this. If not, don't be upset because it's not very easy. So what we are going to do is we are going to capture. And now in this position, we can capture his queen and we can say that we want a pawn. But there's probably should be a more interesting move with the queen over here trying to checkmate. But once again, before I play that move, you guys know what I'm gonna say. Let's make sure what he can do against that move. He can capture our knight and we have to be ready for that move. So if he captures our knight, it's not going to be simple. So the idea doesn't work. I'm hoping that capturing the queen is correct, although it might not be. So this is the first puzzle where I am not even sure myself, but let's try it out. Here we go. That was wrong. So very important to come back later on to the puzzles that we did wrong and check what the correct solution was. Okay, guys? So let's speed this up a little bit. So he pushed the pawn. If I capture, he has this discovered check, right? So what else we can do other than capturing the pawn? Practically anywhere we move, he's gonna give us that discovered check. So let's go ahead and still try to capture this pawn, but again we will have to remember that if we did that, he would give us a check. So we would probably have to capture the bishop and then he would capture our rook. Then we would have to see how we would continue in that position. And basically we don't necessarily have to capture the bishop, so that way we can save our rook. So let's see if that is a correct solution. So we don't capture his bishop and we captured back right here. Okay, so we're at 48 and puzzles are getting at a 2500 level, which is pretty high. So you have to do more candidate moves and calculation. So let's pause the video and take time to solve this puzzle. Let's see what we can do. So opponent's last move was with his rook like this. Let's see if we can take advantage of this. This is for sure win material. We cannot checkmate here. Now one candidate move that I see here is this, but it does get complicated, so I have to calculate. If I check him and then he threatens a mate, I have this interesting block, a calculated block, but we have to be careful because when he takes, we do this fork, and now he's probably, okay, that was the correct. I was gonna say he's gonna move the knight to attack more, to maximize more and checkmate, and then I was gonna use my queen to check and bring it to the king. So that was an interesting puzzle. Let's see what's going on here. So again, to analyze the board, where the weaknesses are, the C file, maybe discover attack, an uncastled king, an open uncastled king, the queen. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see. So Opponent last move attacking the knight. We probably have to move the knight out of the way. Let's guess if this would be correct. Yes. Holy moly, these puzzles are getting harder. Now, what does this computer want from us, guys? He has an uncastled king, and he has a target here. So if one of the candidate moves that I'm thinking about here is just to sacrifice the rook, because that's literally the first thing I saw. Maybe there is a better move, but at this point it does get complicated because the puzzle is becoming difficult. So if I see a candidate move, why not to analyze it to see if that would be correct? So before I capture the knight, what is he going to do? He's going to capture me, right? So then after that, if I capture this central pawn with an idea to discover the attack on his rook with the knight check, would he be able to defend against it? So you'd probably move the rook, right? But when he moved the rook and I gave him that check with the knight, by the time he takes, I'll take back with the pawn, having a pass pawn, dangerous pass pawn, and he still has an uncastled king. It might be the solution, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes, okay, good. So if he moved the rook anywhere else, I would give him that check, leaving him with the king in the center. Now it's just probably capturing the rook for free. Why not, right? Okay, so we're going to take a pause in this position and we're going to say, Eric, your record is 49, which is really impressive, and Mr. A was the first one to break that record. So I challenge anybody to be able to score 50. It's not easy. These puzzles at this point are getting hard, 2600. And make sure that if you get some puzzle wrong, go back and see what was the correct solution, and most importantly, why you missed that puzzle. So here we go. The computer's last move in this one was capturing the pawn, and he's actually threatening mate in 2 if you ask yourself what your opponent wants, right? By focusing on opponent's last move. So now that checkmate looks dangerous, and if we were to protect it like this, would that work is the question. Well, once again, we have to ask ourselves, we did that. The check with the bishop wouldn't work because we would move the king, but what if he checked us with his queen against that move over here? That would be dangerous. We would have to block the check with the queen, and then he would probably give us another check with the bishop, and we have an escape square for the king, right? So this is how I think that all these different puzzles where you have to defend, where you have to attack, but most importantly, all of these puzzles require candidate moves and calculation and correct assessment of the board. So these are the 3 skills that I strongly recommend to practice in these puzzles, but to not forget to apply it in a real game. So once again, he's trying to checkmate us. So at this point, we have to do candidate moves. Now, besides this queen move, another move that does protect against the checkmate is the king. But before I play this move, I ask myself, you guys know what he will do against that move. He'll probably move the bishop to try to checkmate me, and then when I block with the queen, that's going to be much more powerful, and I'm already up material, so that should be winning. Okay, good. We are at 51. That was the correct solution. If I move the queen right away, that would be lack of candidate moves, and that wouldn't be the best move. This probably has to be about checkmate, although he has a dangerous attack on my king as well. So make sure to try to invest some time into the assessment of the board. My rook is hanging. I have to be careful with this checkmate. But at the same time, his king is also a target. So this is a very sharp game. We can maybe try to checkmate, to check him there, but I will not play that move until I calculate what computer will do. Correct, guys? So he'll just move the king out of the way. And then after that, do I have any continuing checks with the queen or with the rook? Because my rook is hanging and he's also trying to checkmate me, right? So we have to really take time on this one. Okay, so once again, when we are calculating a check like that, we have to make sure that we have the continuation after the king escapes. So when his king moves away here, we have a very nice check at that position to a fate, and then we'll capture the pawn with the battery, and that should give us enough attacking resources to counterattack his king, because we are under 3 threats. There's some checkmates to look for, our rook is under attack, and there's a very dangerous queen capture pawn. So we have to be very aggressive in this one. So let's see if that works out. So once again, candidate moves. This check seems to be the most efficient. And now we are going to capture with the battery. Now we really have to checkmate the computer, guys, because otherwise this whole thing is going to fail. And then everybody's going to be laughing at Mr. A. So this puzzle is not easy. So you just have to do a lot of candidate moves here. So let's see. Check. And now how can we continue the attack? Wow. How can we, maybe the pawn check? And when he moves, the king has nowhere to move. And when he captures my pawn, I'll discover attack and win his queen. That was the correct solution. Okay. So that one we just got lucky, I have to be honest. Now let's see this one. 2700. We are at 52. Let's see what we can do here. So opponent's last move was here. That's an automatic target because it's a piece that I can capture. I cannot checkmate in this position, but let's do some candidate moves to see how we can try to win material in this one. So the 3 candidate moves in this one would be probably be something like pawn push forward to attack a defender of a weakness, something that I talked before about, but don't play that move until you guys ask yourself, what can the computer do? Because that would be wrong, because if I push that pawn, he would have forked me really, really badly, so that wouldn't work. If I captured this pawn with a discover attack on the queen and attack the bishop, that would look interesting. And why would that be wrong? Or maybe that is correct. Is once again, if I did that, he can still fork me. It does get more complicated. I take his queen, he takes my queen with his knight, and then I have too many pieces in danger myself. So no, that wouldn't be correct either. Maybe capturing this knight first and then doing the discover attack on the queen? That has to be correct, please. So here we have to capture back, please don't forget, and now we got the bishop. Good. Okay. Wasn't very hard, but we needed to calculate that one. So let's see what's going on here. He wants to promote a pawn or checkmate us. Wow. But we have a check on him first. So if I do this, he'll block with the pawn. Again, you see, all these difficult puzzles just have one thing in common. What is it? Before playing a move, ask yourself what computer will do against that move. Now let's see if that is the best move by asking ourselves, what are we doing after he blocks the check with the pawn? Now when he blocks the check with the pawn, we can give him another check with the queen. And when he blocks with the bishop, we can then maybe sacrifice the queen somewhere, sacrifice the bishop to give a checkmate. That looks very complicated, to be honest, but maybe that would be right. And my rook is pinned on top of everything. Now capturing this pawn would definitely not be what computer wants, because he'll just capture my rook with the check and then capture my bishop with the check, so that wouldn't be correct. So this has to be right, but now let's take more time to see what we can do. If we check him here, he'll block with the bishop, right? So once again, always asking ourselves what computer will do against our move, which is exactly what you should be doing in a real game. Asking yourself what your opponent will do about the move that you want to play. That is the definition of a calculation, which I covered in the video of 3 important skills of a strong chess player: positional feeling, vision, calculation. If you didn't watch that video, please make sure to watch. It's not as long as this one. But what would be the solution at this point? We are at 53. It would be nice to get somewhere to 60, 70. We have already one puzzle wrong, and our rook is pinned. Wow, let's take time to see what we can do. It has to be a check, we know that, but do I capture the pawn with the check and then he blocks with his bishop? That doesn't look right. So let's sacrifice the bishop here. Okay, he didn't take. And now we have to... Wow. Actually, I have no idea, guys, at this point. We can't... Can we check him here? But he'll take the bishop for free, right? So solving difficult puzzles like that definitely improves your calculation, because you are anticipating what's going to happen, and also doing a lot of candidate moves, which is very good. I think, I'm not sure, but I think at this point we can try to sacrifice the bishop, although he will just take, and what do we have in material there? No. We have to take more time to see what is really going on here, because this is not easy. Can I just try to checkmate him by moving my queen here? No, that loses immediately because he will capture my rook, and when I capture back, he can either capture my bishop or pin with the rook. No, 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 no. See how quickly we can eliminate moves that look good, that don't work when you ask yourself what opponent can do against it? That's a very important idea in the real game. Okay, at this point, Mr. A officially not sure what could be the solution, so we'll just try something out here. Once again, if I capture this pawn, he'll capture my bishop, and that does not look, unless I have a pawn check. No, but that does not look good. That does not look good, Mr. A. Okay, time to take risks because the puzzles are hard. And I was wrong, so we have to come back to that puzzle, guys. Once again, high five goes to Eric, scoring 49 because these puzzles are already very, very difficult. Let's do some pressure on the pin, and if that is wrong, I'll be very surprised. No, that is correct. Now let's do some continuity moves to see, do we capture the bishop with the knight or do we capture with the rook? If we capture with the knight, our knight gets trapped. So I want to believe that the correct answer is capturing with the rook. Let's try to see if we can get into a winning pawn endgame by capturing some pawns here. Now, do I go into this pawn endgame with triple pawns of my opponent, and I will be, no, everything will still be equal? Or do I just capture this one? Yeah, let me just capture that pawn, and then I think he didn't have any defense from the skewer, which then would give me a winning pawn endgame. Okay, we're at 54. But that's about it, guys, because next time I make a mistake, that's gonna be it. Okay, so we are playing black here. Everybody is welcome to help at this point. This is probably somewhere around a Grandmaster 2700 level puzzle. And we are playing black. This pawn, unfortunately, does not go backwards to promote. But what can we do? We are playing black. This pawn can try to promote. If I push it right away, that wouldn't work because he would check me. So once again, no matter how good the move looks like, unfortunately, you have to calculate. Maybe we can give him a rook check first, and then we try to promote the pawn. That looks interesting, but not easy. And we already have two wrong, so the next one will get out. This does look more challenging than having a 3300 rating on a tactical trainer, because these puzzles seem to have a lot of moves to calculate, and the ideas are hidden very deep. Check. And then another check, or push the pawn? Probably another check, because if I push the pawn, he will then for sure be able to stop me with one of his checks. Let's see if it's correct. Holy moly, that was correct, guys. Now for sure we have to push the pawn. And that was correct. 55. And now we are in the pawn endgame. So now we just have to calculate. What happens if we take and go run with the king to the king side to eat his pawns? Is that going to be winning? Or if not, then we push the pawn. But if we push the pawn, he still will have his pass pawn. Although we have a sideways pass pawn. If he pushes the pawn, if I push this pawn right now, guys, and get eliminated because of the third wrong answer, then it's going to be very sad. So we have to make sure to calculate. If we push that pawn, he will what? He will push his pawn. We will catch his pawn with his king. He'll push again. We'll capture, and then he'll get our pawn. And how does that look overall? We need to calculate, so I encourage everybody to pause the video and calculate. If we capture, which is the second main candidate move in this video, now he just captures back, and then we have to see if we are winning that race, and I'm not sure if we can win that. So let's pause the video and calculate. Did you guys calculate it? Okay, let's try it out. And now we are going directly to the to eat his pawns. But do we go this way, whichever is faster, or do we go this way? Now we don't want to let him to come to our pawns, so for now we are going this way. We're gonna eat those pawns, and now we have to see which way we are capturing. Okay, which way do we capture? Do we capture this pawn? What's gonna happen? He's gonna attack our pawn, and that does not look good. So we have to capture this pawn so that then we can capture. Okay, so if he went to capture the pawn on g3, I would capture on f5. When he captured on g3, I would come back on g5 and win that pawn endgame. That is ridiculous. But apparently that was the solution. Wow. Okay, interesting puzzles. Now 2785. Okay, 2877. Did I solve that? Holy moly! Anybody who can beat solving that puzzle is gonna get a prize from Mr. Ray. But let's see. Our goal is to get 60. I've never tried this before, but if I can get 60, maybe that's not bad. Now the good thing is that we don't have a time limit on this, so we can always take time. So let's see what's going on here. So we can't really checkmate, so it has to be something about win material, and right away we have to identify target. Something that I can capture is always a target, but if I capture it right now, he'll just capture me back. So that cannot be the solution, because I only have one check after that, and he'll just move his king away, and that is going to be bye-bye, Mr. Ray. Your score is 56. Good luck next time. So we can't afford to make a silly mistake like that. Capturing the pawn to attack the knight would be nicer, because I would be attacking the knight and giving him this check. But then, as soon as you see what opponent can do against that move, and you're calculating the queen, black queen can then capture the white pawn, that's not gonna look good either. That's gonna look very, very sad to finish this mission on a 56 score. Maybe I can push this pawn here. If he captures me with the queen, I just get the knight for free. If he captures with the knight, I fork him with the queen check. And if he moves the queen somewhere away, I should be able to win the knight. Let's see if that is correct, guys. Oh, yes. Okay, that was good. Okay, got lucky again. That was good. That was good. 57. We have to do 3 more, but the puzzles are getting harder. And the 3000 level puzzle here is probably harder from the ones that I'm getting when I'm 3300. When I'm 3300 on the Tactical Trainer, every puzzle is 3000 and up, but these puzzles seems to be more stressful, at least. So once again, candidate moves, calculation, and correct assessment of the board of what computer wants from us. Now let's see if we can checkmate in here. Can we checkmate? The knight is covering 2 checkmating squares, but that is not enough to give a check. Our queen is far away. We have a discover attack on his queen. Do I just go here? He captures. No, doesn't work. So again, remember something I was talking about before. When you identify your main pieces, which are, everybody here is important, then with the main pieces that you have identified, then you have to ask yourself, what can each piece do? And you have to literally talk to them and ask them, well, what can each piece do? So can this rook do anything? It's definitely one of the main characters in the position, but he can't really do much. And poor guy, is under attack. Can the knight do something? Can the knight go there? It doesn't work. He'll just capture us. Can the queen do anything? The queen can't even. The queen doesn't even seem to be able to do anything. So, what does it mean? It must have been the rook that is supposed to do something here. But what can the rook do? Oh, maybe the rook can go like this. Discover attack on the queen, on his queen, with an idea to backrank checkmate him, guys. And that is probably the solution. There we go. Okay, now the computer is desperate. The computer is panicking. He's desperate and he's capturing. He sacrificed the rook, but that means we will win material here. Can I just capture? Should I do candidate moves? Let me know what you guys think. If I just capture with the king, I think I just win material from that, but then he'll check me. Does he have any checks? No, so that has to be correct. Okay, good. Capture back, and so we are up a rook. We won material 58. 2 more. What is this position about? My goodness gracious. Am I in check here? No, I'm not in check. He's actually going... I'm playing white and I have to probably try to draw this because he's trying to promote. If I capture this pawn with the check, his king is just moving forward and he's ready to promote. I don't really have any other options. We have to do this, guys. What? Oh, we are playing black. Okay, so this is where Mr. A is getting tired. He's not really understanding what's happening with the board. So if we are playing black and it's our turn, it's definitely going to have to be a pawn promotion. And we have to win this game, guys. And we have to get to 59. So what can we do to promote a pawn? Do I just push this pawn forward? Not without calculating. He takes my pawn. I push the pawn forward. He can't stop the pawn promotion. Looks good, right? But if he captures my pawn with the check, then what? I'll just move the king somewhere. Okay, that has to be correct, guys. If that is wrong, it's going to be very upsetting. There's also a rule that says in the endgame that 2 pass pawns on the 6th strength have to be very strong. Check. Candidate moves, can't move here. He takes the pawn with the pin, so this is the only move. And now we just have to do this. Oh my goodness, this guy is not resigning. Okay, that was okay. That was good. That was good. 3,000 again. Okay, 59. What can we get? What can we get? Can I just win material here? So, if this bishop is under attack, but he is defended by the knight, does that mean I just take the knight and we call it 60 on the survival mode for Mr. A? But then he must have something up the sleeve, guys. And I don't see it because I already got a little bit tired as well. So we'll just capture that knight to see if we can win the bishop. We have to calculate what can he do against that. Oh, he captured... I cannot believe I missed that. So now he captures back with the fork, not letting me capture his bishop because he's attacking my bishop. And if I capture with the queen, he'll skewer me with the rook. Very, very nice. Survival mode, Pazora's trickster computer. What if I move the rook with the tempo to attack the checkmate and then I grab the bishop? Ha! Okay, that was interesting. My goodness gracious. Oh, we're at 60. That's it. Okay, so that was the minimal goal that I wanted to achieve in this. But now let's try our best. So, computer's last move was here. This is definitely about winning material. The first piece that I see as a target is, why can't I just go and capture the knight like that? Can somebody tell me? Can somebody tell me what exactly I need to calculate? Because in a real game, I would just capture that knight immediately, especially if I go low on time. Who doesn't capture a piece for free? But in this one, that would be wrong. In this one, that would be wrong because you have to do candidate move, guys. And you have to capture it with the rook. Oh! That's what I call an epic fail. And the correct answer was, I don't even know what, but so we go back to see what the correct answer was. I should have taken more time on this. I definitely should have taken more time on this and we probably could have solved it. So I'll be trying again. This was my first time doing it. Anybody who can get over 60, you can definitely contact me to get a prize. I won't lie for that. It's not easy. Eric has done a good job at achieving 49 and the puzzles do get harder. Now, what was the solution for this puzzle? Is you just click on it and you see where we got it wrong. So I was probably not doing enough calculation and I probably wasn't doing enough candidate moves. So he moved the rook away and then I captured with the rook, right? I didn't want to capture with the bishop because I thought he then moved the queen over here. But then we have the rook check. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure, guys. So this is what it is and we'll be trying again. Let's just see what the correct solution was. Oh, capturing with the bishop. So it was one of our candidate moves, but we did not calculate it deep enough because it was hidden. I don't know how many moves that is, but at the end we won the queen. That's what the computer wanted us to see. So bishop captured knight, and then a nice rook sacrifice. I think that was not very hard. I think I could have actually got it, but I just didn't want to take more time. Check, and as you can see, we can capture the rook, and that still would be wrong, because that is just simply not the best move. So when you check him, he has to block with the bishop, and then you just win that bishop, removing the pawn, defending the queen, and then you discover time and win the queen. Wow. Okay, well, the most important thing is, how can we apply the skills that we are using to solve these puzzles in a real game? And I think I have said enough about that, so I wish everybody good luck. Let me know what your score is on a Puzzle Rush, on the survival mode, what's your tactical trainer rating, and then I'm looking forward for anybody to share your experiences, and I'll be doing this again. If you haven't seen me doing Puzzle Rush Live, that's on my website. You can also see the video lesson of what's my approach, what's my suggestion, how to solve puzzles, but I think I already explained it in this as well. So chess with Mr. Ray, and I'll see you soon, guys.